The sacred sacrum.
Thank you very much. Today I'm going to give you just a bird's eye view of the sacrum, but I really love this bone. And it is very sacred to our bodies because without it we have a lot of problems, as you'll see throughout by the end of my speech. The sacrum, why is it called the sacrum? Well, it looks like, and I had a little pointer, but that didn't work on the digital. So if you can see, it looks like a heart. And sacrum in Latin is heart. And it's 5 bones that they're not really fused together, they're fused together by sutures. And they have movement because if they weren't, we wouldn't be able to do all the movements we do with our hips. So this whole area is sutured, or our ligatures are together by very strong muscles. So we're going to go down into a more detailed view. And this is the anterior view, the front part of it, and this is the posterior view, the back part of it. But this little bone, is located right here at the base of the spine between the hip bones. And for men, the hip bones are tighter connected by the ligatures because they don't need the movement that women need when we have babies, or if you have a baby, to open up and give more space for the baby in the pelvic area. So it's a keystone bone. As you can see, it kind of looks like a keystone. If it were an arch, it would be the top of the arch support. And it protects. So babies, when you have a baby in your body, it's the thing that helps hold the pelvis together so that it can protect the baby. But we've also got organs of elimination and organs of reproduction in there. And as a species, if those aren't protected, if they're damaged, we don't continue as a species. And individually, if the organs of digestion, which is another speech altogether about how important digestion is to health, that when our digestive, our organs of elimination get damaged, we don't survive as a person. So you can see it's a very strong bone. It supports the weight of our whole spine and head. So you've got this 10-pound at least bowling ball on top of your little spine, and then you've got the cervicals, the thoracic, the lumbars, and then you have this little bone holding all that weight up. So you can tell that if it's not stabilized, which it stabilizes also, then you're going to have problems in the center of your body, which we all talk about core. Well, the sacrum has a lot to do with keeping that core engaged, as our president will tell us, Chad will tell us about that another day. So you can see if it's not connected, it's connected in the back. So you look at the posterior end of it. You've got these wings of the hip bones, the iliac crest, which goes along and connects to the sacrum itself, and they're connected by ligaments, which are like ropes. There's all different kinds. There's muscles, there's tendons, there's ligaments, and ligaments are your strongest muscle. They're really more like rope-like, and they're not meant to be stretched, really. When you overstretch a ligament, anything that's tied by a ligament becomes destabilized. You can think of a ligament like a rope, and you can think of a bone like a ship and a mooring. And if that rope is nice and taut and stable, your ship is not going to be getting hurt by the big waves that happen. And if our ligaments get too loose, then what happens to this joint here, it becomes destabilized. And you can tell that if this joint becomes destabilized, what happens to all the joints that are attached to it, that connect eventually, start to get destabilized. And I'm not going to go into this right here, but you can see there are 35 muscles that attach and go either up or down the body that are attached to the sacrum. So once the ligaments get destabilized, get loose, and you can with ligaments, you either have to go and surgically repair them, but you can't ever strengthen them again. They don't get strengthened. What you have to do is take all the muscles that surround it to help stabilize what the ligaments are no longer stabilizing. So the injuries that can happen with the sacrum, and since it's a small bone and it's pretty protected within and it's really ligatured very tightly to its other bones, it takes big impact to actually fracture, sprain, or bruise the sacrum. So you really have, or sports injuries, accidents, major falls can injure a sacrum. But basically what happens, most of the pain that happens from a sacrum is destabilization of the ligature, which anybody's ever had SI joint pain? You know what I'm talking about. What happens is that bone, go back up here for just a second. That bone gets destabilized, the muscles, the ligaments get soft or loose or whatever damaged, and then you start having it move this way or that way, and then you start having either the spine get affected or the hips get affected. And that's another speech altogether going into that. Don't have time to really go through it, but the pain is due to maybe impingement of another muscle or a nerve, because, sorry, I'm going back and forth. I didn't talk about this little bone right here, the coccyx. The nerves go all the way through the spine and come out through here, and they go into like a horsetail. It's called the caudal equine. And those nerves then go out and go down the legs. So if this gets damaged, you can get a lot of nerve impingement, nerve damage in that area. So you can see how this really is pretty sacred to our whole health, physical and emotional, because if you're in pain all the time, it can cause emotional issues. So you can see how if you have a problem, if you go down your leg, it could be localized just in your low back, or it can actually go up into your neck, and it can be caused by actually dysfunction of the neck. Can also go down because of the connection. So the next speech I'm going to do, or the next segment that I will be talking about, is how a regular yoga practice or a yoga can impact and support the health of the sacrum. But the one thing I'd like you to do before you do that is get a doctor's diagnosis and make sure that you know what is really wrong before you go and see a health professional. Thank you.